Hi guys, welcome back to Studio Anderson, and I want to talk about um, cults. And more specifically, I want to talk about the difference between different types of cult-like mentality and cult-like behavior. Um, Now, I wouldn't consider myself a cult expert, but I would consider myself pretty in the know on the mentality and how it works for a number of reasons. For one, it's like abuse, like social isolation, and uh, what they call mental abuse, um, is really similar. Like whether it's mental, physical, sexual, or whatever kind of abuse you want to call it, it's like it's the same thing as like as being part of a cult. And bear with me on this one. Reason two that I um, am relatively qualified to speak on this is that I've done a lot of like being that I study Asian languages. Like I've done a lot of reading on the history of China, North Korea, um, mostly those two places, and how the mentality was during the Cultural Revolution of China, and how they managed to increase communism. And contrary to most conservatives, I don't think that modern day China or even North Korea is exactly always what they say it is, because especially, well, China definitely is pretty capitalist. Chinese people like to make money, they like to have the ability to do what they want. They're just perhaps more willing to um, not criticize the government openly. I think we Americans, we tend to feel like we have freedom of speech because the media can bash our president and we can complain about random stupid stuff and then not actually do anything. And we say, okay, so we have freedom. Um, it's so weird that I see Chinese people as capitalists more than some Americans, because like they're willing to like only talk about certain issues in certain contexts. A lot of them, um, or talking code when they're talking shit about the government online. But then like they actually don't just sit on their ass and complain. Like if they either better their life or they just ignore, not ignore, but don't focus on the negative. So um, that's a side thing. But in the history of China and North Korea, especially during the Cultural Revolution, there was this like cult like mentality. And it was like you had to agree with certain ideas and criticize other people and admit your guilt, or you were guilty. And if you had something to do with people, that was, and in North Korea it's still like this in some ways, a lot of ways, but it was even worse during like the founding of the country and the beginning years. If you had anything to do with people from a capitalist country or a Western country, you were guilty of um, like you were guilty of it by association. And the reason I want to talk about this is I want to make the comparison between cult like communist countries, abuse, and SJW, the SJW cult. I don't even need to do quotes actually because it's a cult. If you think about it, like there's these videos that have come out in recent times. People are talking about building a new society. We're going through a change. We're evolving. We're shifting. All this strange language. And being someone who's relatively quite knowledgeable, at least in, you know, history of certain countries, um, like I can honestly tell you that humans, like we have technological advances, and but there's no such thing as real progress in many ways. Like socially, social progress, like I mean, getting rid of slavery, that's a social progress. big stuff like that. But, you know, talking a certain way, thinking a certain way, considering certain marginal things, good or bad, is not progress. And, white people kneeling in front of black people and apologizing for things they didn't do, that's not progress. Like, admitting your guilt based on your race is not progress. That is cult behavior. And so you have a lot of this stuff coming out, people washing black people's feet with their hair, and it makes me nauseous. It makes me very nauseous because these are, it's just like I can just imagine seeing your mother or your grandmother doing that, like put himself in such a place of humiliation, and like self degradation. And if it was the other way around, then it would not be. It would be on international news. And it's just like, if you look at American politics today, which is, and Hollywood and social media, which is all highly influenced by SJW, like cult mentality, um, it's I just like, even thinking about that is making me want to literally want to throw up right now. What I was just talking about, like, I'm sorry, but yeah, like, it's also influenced by this, and we act like we're making progress. I had another point to make, but I kind of lost my train of thought. Um, we act like we're making progress, but we're not. Like, I mean, like, what is progress, guys? Like, it's like we talk about Europeans who went into certain societies and pressured or encouraged them to make certain social changes, with the idea of improving their life. Now, let's be fair, they did improve their lifestyles in a lot of ways, in certain cases. Like, if you look at New Guinea or whatever, like, they're not killing and eating each other every day anymore. So that's an improvement, we could say. But, at the same time, who's to say that their lifestyle otherwise was not good, and or was not advanced or evolved? There's no such thing, guys, because the people that are complaining about Western imperialism and colonization and the evil white man, supposedly, are the same people who are trying to impose their way of thinking and their way of life on other people, including, whether it's foreign people or other Americans. And it's like, so when let me just go into some details so I'm not rambling. Like, when you're abused by a parent, there's a certain level of social isolation, if not a very high level of social isolation. And they tell you, some of them will use religion as an excuse. They'll tell you that certain people are bad, certain people don't care about you. They try to make you feel like you are not worth something, for something about you that you cannot change. Okay? And so they try to make you feel like the people that actually care about you don't care about you, and that they might do other things to try to make you feel bad or feel uncomfortable when you spend time around those people. If it's not a parent, they will accuse you. If it's your spouse or something, they will accuse you of cheating, of not caring about them. If it's your parent, they'll accuse you of not caring about your family, or they might accuse you of being fake and spending time with, you know, the wrong people. And those are just some examples. There's a lot of different details and very intricate ways in which they will, try to socially isolate you, and in the same way try to make you feel like you are not good. Um, and they try to make you act like you have to be like them, even if they admit that there's something wrong with them, because they don't want to feel bad about themselves. So they make you feel like if you are different than them, there's something wrong with you. And that is the same thing that you saw in communist China. You had to be like gun ho, um, like pro, Mao Zedong, and you had to be anti, Western, anti-capitalist, anti-private enterprise. And if you were not, it was that you were. They said you were brainwashed, and that you were, you were destroying the country. You were the reason the country is, was invaded by Western countries, or the reason the country had a terrible economy at the time. And same thing with abusive parents. You're the reason the family's falling apart. You're the reason. It's their fault because they're an abusive psychopath, but you're the reason why. They say that you're the reason why there's problems in the family because you call out the problems. Maybe you said something. Maybe you've tried to ameliorate or cause a more harmonious environment at home, and apparently putting your fingers into the situation is making it worse, according to them. So they try to put everything on you. And it's the same thing with SJWs. If you're white, you are the reason that the country is evil and racist and homophobic and sexist and blah, 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 blah. Insert 5,000 ists and isms here. And if you protest, then that's just a sign of your guilt. That's another thing that they do. If you protest, it's a sign of your guilt, because if you were not guilty, you would not say anything. So, which doesn't actually make any sense. And and it's almost like the witch hunt, the Salem witch trials was a similar mentality to all three of these things. So they do, and they also use your words against you, and use your silence against you. So conservatives like to point out that radical leftists and SJWs, that they'll say words of violence, but then they'll be like, oh, if you're silent, you're part of the problem. If anybody in the world is ever telling you you're with us or against us, you guys remember when George Bush said that about the war on terror and 9/11 and all of that, and all the leftists and liberals, not even leftists, but at least the normal Democrats were like, oh my god, that's horrible. That's like a brainwashing tactic. I can criticize the war without being against America, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well now that's what the leftists are doing. They're saying you're with us or you're against us. And that's what communist North Korea did and still does. You're with us or you're against us. Either you're anti-American, anti-foreign, or if you're not, then you are anti your homeland, anti your people. And then you are part of the reason why the country has problems. And if you are, so yeah, they use your words against you and they use your silence against you, so you're part of the problem. That's what they say. So it's so crazy. I took psychology and I took anthropology. I'm not like, it's amazing to me what having a good teacher and studying like what psychology 101, anthropology number 1, like these courses that are considered like basic college courses. But I don't know if I just had good teachers or I was just interested in the subject, but it was deep, guys. Deep. The amount of realization that you will have is astounding. I had to leave class one day because I almost had a small mental breakdown because they were talking about the results of being abused and being manipulated. And she kind of touched on, how these things can happen from abuse situations that are not just your parents or your partner. Also with, your government or the political movement or actual cult, like actual known cults. And other stuff like that. And she was talking about all the things that could happen to you, all the psychological symptoms and behavioral things that you can develop or that you do develop from that. And it was just, she was talking about me. She was just describing me word for word. And I was just like I used to think I was a reserved person. I was just humble. But no, I wasn't scared to speak, but I would beat around the bush and I would word things very carefully and very detailed, and I would laugh and make things funny. Even if I was talking about something very negative, I would have people laughing because I had spent so many years being berated for everything that I said and thought, or saying it this way or saying it that way, and or not agreeing with somebody. And this is the reason why I'm so against social justice cult, because I went through abuse at home. So, if you've been through that and you come out of it, you're not gonna, some people might go into another similar mentality because they're brainwashed. They can't get themselves out of the cult mentality. But a lot of people, myself included, are very adamant about not being brainwashed. Anybody who, and add a second layer to that, my dad was a compulsive liar. Like almost everything he ever said, not even almost everything he's ever said his entire life that I can possibly think of, is at least partially false. And it goes from just stretching the truth all the way to complete delusion, fabrication, and other types of hallucinations. So some of it, but I mean, a lot of it was intentional. A lot of it was not just a hallucination-based thing. A lot of it was he knew the truth, and he just was so used to lying that everything he said was a lie. Everything. It was like, so if you've been abused by a compulsive liar, been manipulated, and mentally abused by a compulsive liar, you know, like you have an extra layer of like, I don't want to deal with that shit. You have an extra layer of um, you have an extra layer of knowing what it's like and being able to spot lies and being able to spot manipulation. So I don't fuck with that shit. That's why I'm not gonna be brainwashed. I don't care if it's by the media, if it's by politics, if it's by so-called political movement or whatever they're trying to call it. I'm not gonna be brainwashed by a person. Like no, none of it. So like everything, and I'm not trying to act like my system of thinking is the um, like the just like I know everything, but I'm at least I'm not brainwashed, and at least I'm not, um, and at least I know how to protect myself from being. I'm not gullible, especially not now. And it's so funny because as soon as you come out as a conservative, or as a whether you're conservative or Republican or anything that's considered right wing, even if you're like a libertarian or something, they accuse you of being brainwashed. But if you can't possibly agree with an entire like half of the country on anything, or else you're brainwashed, that's kind of brainwashing. They're like saying that you have to believe this sliver on the radical left, this sliver of an like line of thinking, and if you go to the right, even to over to just normal Democrat, you're alt right. You are brainwashed by whatever Fox News, which is apparently the evil, the only media that they demonize. Ironically, it's so funny how we have to trust and love the media and think that they care about us and they're always telling the truth, but then Fox News is evil and they're always lying. That's what they say. So liberals always tell the truth, and conservatives always lie. That's what they say. That's what they act like, and it's kind of funny because it's like projection. Like you're projecting. Like if you're saying that you always tell the truth and somebody else ever lies, chances are you're a liar because that's what my dad did. Accuse everybody else of lying while he's literally never said a word of truth his entire life. That's what abusive people do, who are compulsive liars. See, the parallels are astounding, guys. Like, and I realize that I'm rambling, and I'm hoping that some of you enjoy listening to me talk and listen to me. My voice just broke like I'm a fucking 15-year-old boy. I hope that you guys enjoy listening to me talk and enjoy listening to me ramble because, like, I have a point. Um, like, I'm the kind of person that even though I talk kind of slowly and sometimes seem lethargic because I'm always tired and never sleep, but at the same time, my mind is like this. Like there's like a hamster on crack in my head, just running on the treadmill over and over, and like so. It actually takes me a while. Like I have to write a lot and really edit and just rewrite. And I'm not to brag, but I'm a decent writer. Um, to really compose my thoughts and every point that I want to say. So a lot of times before I make a video, it seems like oh he's just talking to a camera. No, I do a lot of writing. Um, but at the same time, I don't want to read off a screen. I want to be genuine, so I just use that to really organize what I want to say, and then I talk to the camera. Um, but yeah, so just I'm gonna wrap it up, guys. But yeah, honestly, I'm going on a limb here by talking about this, talking about what I talked about my walkway video, and I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate and a lot of backlash from people in my life. Well, people who consider themselves in my life, not the few people that I associate with on a regular basis. You know, my immediate family and my husband and my couple close friends. But um, you know, I'm on the off chance that any of my relatives watch this, and it's always been the mentality. And don't listen to this if somebody talks to you this way. If you're in a situation, whether it's political manipulation, SJW cult, a religious cult, or abuse, especially abuse, but all of them, they're all the same. If you're in that situation and someone tells you that you talking about it is causing the problem, or you talking about it is is part of the problem, or just going to make things worse, or oh, it's okay, you can think that. They might even say you're right, but you shouldn't tell those people about it. But you shouldn't, embarrass us by telling the whole world. But you shouldn't put it on YouTube. Don't listen to that. Okay, I mean, tell your story to whoever you feel like is necessary to hear it. It doesn't mean you have to tell everybody if you don't want to, but of course, if it's personal and you don't feel like talking about it. But I think it's very important to put this message out there, and and it's like, you talking about it does not make it worse. Just keep that in mind. You talking about whatever happened to you or whatever you've been through, whatever manipulation that you've experienced, is not the problem. Okay, so if your group of people or your family or whoever it is doesn't want to get their shit together and call a bitch out for what they're doing wrong, and all they want to do is blame the victim or blame one of the victims for telling anybody about it, no, don't listen to that. That's BS. Especially if you're literally in the middle of it and you're going through the toughest part of it, or what you consider the toughest part of it, you might need help. And honestly, if I know I'm just a YouTube guy, but if anybody is in one of these types of situations and you want to email me at studioanderson2792@gmail.com, I can talk to you if you need to. I can I can try to refer you to any kind of resources that I can find. Um, there's a lot of things that I would be willing to do to help somebody get out of a situation like that. But also keep in mind that no matter what level of help you're able to find, you have the power to get out of it. You need to change your mind. You need to remind yourself that you're the sane one, and that whoever's abusing you, or whatever if you're being told that you're bad, whether it's because uh, it's your abusive husband telling you you're bad for stupid reasons, if it's Black Lives Matter telling you that you're evil because you're white, whether it's you know whether you're a North Korean and your government's telling you that because your grandmother immigrated from Japan that your whole family is low class and evil. Okay, whatever you've been through, um, in those cases, don't listen to it. There's nothing wrong with you. Okay, and so just keep that in mind. Change your mind. Positive thinking and logical thinking. Okay, so if something sounds like bullshit, if someone's telling you something and it sounds like they're taking a shit, they're probably doing just that. It's probably complete bullshit. Okay. Thank you guys. Serious topic again for today. I gotta make a I gotta make a funny video, but at the same time, like I said, I've spent years being funny, and I just need to tell the truth. I just need to be real. It's really important to me, and I just really hope it can bring a positive thing to other people. Okay, thank you guys. Bye.